All right. So, She-Hulk episode 1. Again, I'm not going to go by seasons because I don't know if they're even considering a season 2 for the show. I don't see why not, but anyway. So, it starts off with Jen talking to the camera. So you think already she's breaking the fourth wall. And then the camera pans out and it's just her rehearsing her closing arguments to her paralegal and best friend, Nikki, and this other lawyer who I can only assume is the district attorney because we find out on her door that she's the deputy district attorney. So, Nikki assures her that she's doing great. The lawyer is trying to, I don't know, I don't think he liked it. He was giving her some advice, and Nikki was just saying, yeah, no. And he wasn't happy that Jen was siding with Nikki's advice over an actual lawyer's. So, he leaves, and they're getting ready to go to do the closing arguments. And before Jen leaves, she does actually break the fourth wall and starts to tell the story because they mention about hulking out. And so Jen tells the story that yes, she is indeed a Hulk, and this is how it happened. Now, for those of you who are fans of Deadpool, in the comics, She-Hulk broke the fourth wall long before Deadpool. So I don't want to hear people complaining that they're copying Deadpool. No one's copying anything. If anything, it's the other way around. No. Just no. Anyway. So, we go back to a few months prior where she and Bruce are talking, oddly enough, strangely enough, about Captain America, Steve Rogers' sex life. Or whether he even has one, because did he even have time to get laid? Which, really, of all the topics you could discuss with your Avengers cousin, that's the one you choose? Whether Steve Rogers is a virgin? Now, so they're talking, and then this spaceship suddenly appears in front of them. And they end up going off the road. Now, before this, Bruce explained how he's staying in his human form. He created a prototype so he can't Hulk out. So they get into this car accident, and Jen first pulls herself out. Bruce looks like he's out cold at first. Now, I couldn't understand why he didn't heal his arm. Why hulking out didn't heal his arm. I guess it was slowly healing, that it was faster than a non-gamma radiated person would be, but still slow compared to gamma radiated people. So Jen goes over to Bruce because, he's her cousin. She wants to make sure he's okay. And he immediately was freaking out and telling her, "Get away from me, I'm bleeding." So I guess he wasn't out. I guess he wasn't unconscious. So Jen, of course, didn't get out fast enough. And so that's how his blood got into her system because of the wounds she had from the crash. Now, when I first heard that this was how they were going to do it, I thought, well, that's dumb. I mean, I realize this is supposed to be a silly comedy, but I still initially thought, oh, this isn't going to work. This is going to suck. But it worked. It surprisingly worked. So she immediately hulks out. Well, about as much as Jen can at the moment. And so she runs off into the woods, and you see Bruce kind of hulking out. I mean, it looks like he's about to. And so she runs to the woods, and then you see her waking up, and she's back to Jen. She's walking to a town, walking through the woods, going to a town, and she's looking for help. She just needs to wash up, which, seriously, that's your priority? To clean up and then find a phone? Yeah, you need to get your priorities straight. So she is starting to do that, and then these women come in, and they're putting, trying to make her up. They're trying to, give her this fur coat, and it's like, what the hell is going on? Is this also one of those bars that have a brothel? Those old-fashioned bars that have brothels? What's going on? And but the girls were extremely concerned about her. Of course, they assumed that she got beat up by a guy. It was just bizarre. And so she's waiting for Bruce, and she's standing there still with that coat on. And so some guys are catcalling her and heckling her and being horn dogs in general. And so Jen hulks out on them, which freaks them out. And at that moment, Bruce tackles her. And so she wakes up, and she is in some beach house. She's walking around trying to figure out where she is and who is there with her. Which, if she doesn't remember, Bruce was the one who came and got her. Maybe that's not the smartest idea. But then she sees this helmet, which looked like an Iron Man helmet. And she goes down the stairs and she finds Bruce. And Bruce apologizes, saying he thought he would get some work done and that he was analyzing her blood, and actually it was her blood that helped heal his arm. I'm sure it's sci-fi, science-y stuff but anyway, they're implying that she has abilities he doesn't, which I don't think is the way it works in the comics. She's pretty much the same as Bruce, only she's better in control of her Hulk side. Except when she isn't. So they're talking about, Bruce has this years of research of how he got to the point where he and the Hulk can live in harmony and merge and all is great. He decides that he wants to find out where her point of hulking out is. So he puts her in this machine, and he mentions that usually what causes hulking out is rage and fear. And Jen jokes that that's the baseline for every woman. And so he turns on these saws that are attached to the back wall, and the back wall is closing in on her, and she's like, what if this doesn't work and I don't Hulk out? What is your plan B? I don't have one. So, of course, she hulks out. Well, sort of. And Bruce is surprised that, she's got her wits about her, that she's still Jen, but she's also a Hulk. And she's gloating over the fact that makes her better than Bruce because she's already in control. And Bruce is jealous, and he admits it. He's jealous that she's already gotten the hang of it. So he's explaining how to control being a Hulk and how to control when you Hulk out. And he explains to her about rage. And she explains to him, about anger. And she explains to him that the way anger works for women, that we have to be in control of our anger because we get catcalled, we get mansplained to, that so many men in our society seem to think that they're superior to us just by virtue of being men. And so, of course, that's going to elicit anger in a woman because, not being thought of as lesser than simply because you happen to be female. Yeah, after a while, that's going to piss you off. So you have to control it, because if you fly off the handle every time that happens, bad things happen. So, she's explaining this to Bruce, that she's got a leg up on him simply because he never had to deal with any of that. And, so they go through a montage of him teaching her techniques of how to be a Hulk, because he wants her to be a superhero, because, well, she's got these powers, why not use them to help people, right? Jen wants to go back to helping people via being a lawyer. And she's like, I'm in control. I have all this going for me. Why can't I leave? And he even gets briefly upset because they have a rock throwing contest. And you can see that he isn't giving it 100% because, he didn't throw the rock very far. He didn't throw the boulder very far. And then when he saw how far she could throw it, he chucked it into outer space. And of course, I forgot that before this all started, he woke her up with an air horn. Because, he's mature like that. I mean, I have to admit, their relationship is so sweet. I wasn't thrilled about them getting into a fight the way they were because. But anyway, he's like, yep, you're right. I'm only telling you about the bad parts about being a Hulk. Probably because that's how he felt himself for so long, that this was a negative. That yes, he's part of the Avengers, but he never felt comfortable being a Hulk. And Jen is like, she's comfortable, not so much with being a Hulk, she doesn't want to be a Hulk, but she's comfortable with her anger, with her fear. She understands, what is happening and why it's happening. So she's more in control. So she decides, it's time to leave. I mean, I cannot learn anything more. I'm not going to use any of this. I'm already in control. I mean, you even saw her. She briefly hulked out when Bruce was making her angry and immediately turned back into Jen. And, which, by the way, if people are complaining about the CGI on She-Hulk, I have it on good authority by Emergency Awesome that is not CGI. That they actually, this is a practical effect. They actually just found a large woman and just used her as a body double for She-Hulk. So unlike Mark Ruffalo, who walks around in a motion capture suit, that's not what's happening with She-Hulk. So, she wants to leave. Bruce won't let her. And so they get into a fight. And she basically wins. And so Bruce is despondent, saying, if you want to leave, you can go. I'm okay with it. She breaks the fourth wall and says, yeah, he doesn't mean it. So so she leaves, promising Bruce that they'll stay in touch, they'll have a family dinner, that if she ever needs his help, she'll look for it, and then she drives off. So then we get to present day, and she, so then we get to present day, and she finishes her story and says how now the only people who know are, of course, Bruce, her friend Nikki. She didn't say anything about the district attorney, just Nikki. And I would love to have found out how that happened, because that's not exactly something like, guess what? I'm a Hulk. That I can't imagine that's the way it went down. But it sounds like, from what she said, she hasn't hulked out yet. So, even though she appreciates what Bruce did for her, she proved that she didn't need all that because, she's never going to become She-Hulk. So, she goes to she leaves, time to do the closing arguments lawyer show, which this is. It's a lawyer show. And, she gets to the courtroom. You hear the other guy, the prosecutor, giving his closing arguments. Now, we don't know who this case is, who he's supposedly prosecuting. We saw the other lawyer, but we didn't see the defendant. So we don't know what the reasons for this case are. But as Jen is about to get up to give her speech, which I, like I said, I assume it's the district attorney, says, don't screw this up because, that's a pep talk. You want to be told don't screw up as opposed to good luck. Yeah, that's exactly what we want to hear. So she gets up and she's about to start her closing argument, and at that point, a woman breaks in who, spoiler alert, is named Titania. Titania. I think either one works. So she busts in. Now, we don't know why she busted in. I can only assume it has something to do with the case that she's prosecuting, that she's defending. No, wait, prosecuting. District attorney prosecutes. Okay. So the other guy was defending, she's prosecuting. Oh my god. And so I can only assume it has something to do with that. I don't know. In the comics, she's one of She-Hulk's biggest rivals. So, who knows? Who knows why she came in? But she comes in, and Nikki implores Jen to Hulk out. Jen is so not thrilled about this. So, she does just that. I adore Nikki. She's like, take your shoes off first. So she does that. She hulks out. And Titania's like, who the hell are you? And so she just says her name, attorney at law. And Jen Walters, attorney at law. And starts fighting Titania and makes short work of her. And she then goes back to normal, goes back to Jen, and says, okay, I want to give my closing statement now. I want to give my closing argument now. And, deals with her hair, fixes her hair. You could see her clothes are all ripped up. Obviously, because this is supposed to be a kid's show. Well, kid-ish. They obviously can't show what would actually happen, which is what happens to Bruce. He has no shirt. Can't do that with her. Even if she were to wear a bra, I don't think that Disney would allow that. But anyway, so that's when the closing credits run. Now, after the closing credits, there was actually a post-credit scene, which is unusual that they've started that from the very beginning. So there was a post-credit scene, and it's Bruce Banner as Hulk, or as Smart Hulk, and Jen sitting at a bar, Jen seemingly drunk, and Bruce finally lets it slip that Steve Rogers lost his virginity in 1943 to a woman on the USO tour. And suddenly she's triumphant that, she knew it and that she got the information out of Bruce. And Bruce's like, I thought you were drunk. And I'm just like, Bruce, you're the one who even said that you have to drink a lot before a Hulk gets drunk. Why did you think that she was drunk? Anyway, maybe she already drank a boatload and he thought, okay, since she's smaller, that's her limit or something. So that's how it ends. So I'm curious where they're going to go with Titania. Because I'm sure that no matter what the reason for why she was there, she's not going to be too happy that this woman just wipe the floor with her. So, definitely not the last we've seen of Titania. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Oh, yes. Bruce was way too calm about explaining to Jen that spaceship was from Sakaar and that it's a messenger ship and he just has to figure out, what's going on, why it was sent. So I don't know. I mean, if it's a messenger ship, shouldn't it have dropped off a message instead of just showing up saying, "Hi, Sakaar wants to talk to you," and leave? I doubt that. I'm sure they dropped something somewhere. So yeah. Um so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they continue with that storyline or if they're going to save that storyline for a future Hulk movie, which I found out also through Emergency Awesome that um as of 2023, Universal no longer holds the distribution rights to Hulk. So, if Disney wants to make a Hulk movie, they can actually make money off that movie as opposed to Universal making money off that movie. So, maybe we'll have to wait a couple of years before they continue that storyline. Or maybe they'll give us more tidbits during this show. I don't know. Let's see if there's anything else from this episode. I don't think so. I think we got it all covered. So, I will see you guys next week.